My name is Ashley Anderson, and I am a human dancer, possibly alien. My greatest passion is, I want to say people. It's a good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that specifically. I love dance. I think a lot of people would think my greatest passion would be dance, and I am passionate about dance, but I think I'm passionate about dance because of the storytelling aspect and being able to connect to other people and influence other people and be influenced by other people. Now that I'm older, I think I've learned to use my own awkwardness as a means to get closer to other people, like making other people laugh. This sweater. Oh my god, yeah, Flux Momentum, my dance company. It's kind of awesome being able to say that, because if you asked me that question a year ago, I don't know what I would have said. They are a group of amazing individuals, and I don't even want to say I created that, because I don't feel like I created that. I feel like I was just kind of facilitated in bringing certain energies together, and just being able to witness 8 wonderful people come together and be positive and create. It was really a selfish project for me, because now I just get to be inspired every week by amazing humans that I just want to be around all the time. Seeing how far it's come in the last almost year, it's kind of cool to see that we even have done performances, or that people recognize who we are, or that we have a sweatshirt. Starting a project is very hard, especially when you're a creative person. Just starting something is so hard. And I think I always had a dream of having my own group of people that I could help and assist. So being able to say that I do have one now is a really big accomplishment for me, for sure. I'm so proud of all of them, of us. Yes.
Of you.
Of me.
Yes.
I'm proud of myself, for sure. Yeah. To, I guess, give a piece of myself away. Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago, I was at a recital for one of the studios I was working for, and my friend, who also taught at the studio, looked at me and said, "When was last time you made something for you?" And I was like, oh my god, I don't know. I feel like it was a time where I was always making things for recitals. I was just oh, kids, do this. This is something you can do. Go on stage, be happy. And I started thinking differently about just the dance aspect specifically. And that changed a lot for me. And I started thinking about what I wanted to tell and why I wanted to tell it. And it always went back to something that I was feeling or I was experiencing. And what I noticed was every time I created something that was truly a piece of my story, it had such a great effect on others. And I could see that other people got something from it. And that was really cool to see and special. It feels good when you can give something and make something and you feel like other people are influenced in a positive way by it. You feel like you're creating a ripple in the ocean. And I know that's really important to me, is making some kind of positive impact in other people's lives. So when I create now, I like to be intentional about what it is that I'm doing and how can I take something that I'm going through and share it in a way that makes sense. Communicating your feelings is hard, so creating dance or anything that makes you feel something is really cool.
And also making it accessible to the people that are watching.
Yes. It's deciding to make it and then making it and then making sure other people have access to it. Those 3 steps I think are the hardest things for an art. So hard for an artist. We don't live externally, we live internally. So that last step is a freaking doozy, man. Deciding I'm gonna show other people this, or I want people to see this. You're kind of putting yourself out there to be judged. That takes so much courage and strength. Artistic people are superheroes. I'm inspired by people's stories. I love asking people questions. Any of my friends who know me, they know I ask 1,000 questions. They laugh at me about it. But I think there's a lot to say about someone who has gone through something and came out the other side, because there's so much work that we don't see that goes into that. So I love asking people, like, well, why is it that you decided to do something or go somewhere, or why did you dress the way you dressed today? I don't know, I just love asking people why, and hearing their answers for that is always really interesting, because you get another perspective on life, and that inspires me a lot, because there's only so much I can see. I only have one perspective. I have Ashley's perspective, and that's the world, is 1,000 million trillion different perspectives. So it sounds really stupid, but to say like the universe inspires me. When I was a little kid, I was really obsessed with the stars, and I remember being in the 6th grade, we had a magazine drive, and I ordered Astronomy magazine, and I had no idea what I was reading. I would open it, and it would be very scientific. Science was one of my worst subjects, but I would just be like, oh, star, and I would just look at the photos and be obsessed. Being able to look up and see that there is so much out there, and we have no idea, like that could be infinite. You could look up and that could physically be infinite. And as a human, we don't even have the capability to wrap our mind around what that means. That freaks me out every time, and I love it. It's almost magical. Like, I love things that feel magical, because it's easy as a person to just kind of get jaded and just feel like what's right in front of you is all there is. And that's not true. Like, just look up. Come on. Damn me with this question. I would say my resilience. I would say my resilience is the most beautiful thing about me. Anyone who possesses resilience, the power to consistently fight battles and still be a kind and loving and warm-hearted person, I just think that's really special in other people. And sometimes I forget that that's what I've done as well, and I like to think that I'm still a caring and warm-hearted person. I'm definitely different from a couple years ago, but I'm just stronger. So yeah. Well, I had one of them recently, and I cried about it last night, and I feel like I'm gonna start crying again. I lived out in LA for a year and a half, and it was like a super transformative time in my life. And being able to bring someone from that part of my life to come work with Flux, who's like now a huge part of my life here, and seeing those two things come together, and being able to sit down and watch everyone having like a positive, challenging experience, seeing them all kind of push themselves and do it together, to get to watch that, it felt so good. Honestly, I feel like that was a gift I gave myself. That would be the most recent thing. A big one that comes to mind that I feel like I have to mention was, there was a time in my life where I was having a lot of I always have confidence problems, who doesn't, but I had decided to focus on my students for the first time, and I also decided to stop trying to be something other than who I was. And I, at the time, had gone to this convention, and they were giving away these scholarships. And I remember watching, they pick 4 people out of like a sea of like hundreds of amazing dancers. But I remember crying a lot at that particular convention, but just feeling so down on myself and thinking like, truly being like, I'm never going to get to that point, because I felt so bad about myself. And so years later, after deciding to just stick to who I was, bringing my kids to this event, and then also almost working hard there for them. I knew I had to be a role model for them, so that whole week that I was there, or weekend, I was so focused on doing my best so that they would do their best. And then I ended up getting a scholarship. And I remember sitting in the back of this convention room, and they had to call my name a couple times. They kept saying, Ashley, Ashley, Ashley. And I was like, and my friend had to push me and be like, Ashley, go up to the stage, they're calling you. I remember vividly running up to the stage and just being like, bitch, you did it. Like, see? Never ever believe that you can't do something. Ever. Because all it is a mindset. It was a nomination from a guy named Marty Kudelka, who's Justin Timberlake's choreographer, who also happened to be someone that I just looked up to so much. I always dreamed of working with them. And I still dream of working with them. This was just a dance convention. This was not a big deal. But for me personally, I was so, oh my God, it was just so special. I felt so good. And to stand up on that stage and then look down and see all my students looking at me like, oh my God, seeing them get excited, I was like, okay, this is something that's special. This is something that I think is gonna make them feel excited. It made me feel good. That was a really cool experience. Yeah, Monsters of Hip Hop. And when you get nominated, you get to attend the whole year at any of their locations for free. 2 months after that was when I woke up and I had my neck injury. So that was a huge test. Because I really think every time you learn a lesson, the universe is gonna come back and test you and be like, you sure? And it did that. Because like I said, that was one of those times where I was like, I can do it. I'm so stupid for not believing in myself. I can do anything. And then 2 months later, waking up and not physically being able to stand up and being in like the most excruciating pain ever. And it lasting, it was like, are you sure you really believe that you can do this? Are you sure you believe in yourself? It was such a test. You're actually the second person to ask me that question recently. Love is, I would say love is a choice. I would say love is an action. Love is when you see yourself in something else and you're able to reflect back your true self through that thing or that person. Love is something that makes you look at the world in a different color. And it's almost like having a new set of eyes, emotionally. I think we're not really taught about love for ourselves often. And I think when you're the type of person who is selfless and sacrificial in their love, it's important to learn how to love yourself too. And all those things I just said about the act, love is an action, all that stuff, it's important to implement those to you as well. Because you'll end up giving too much to this thing or this person and have nothing left for yourself. So if you can put all those feelings and thoughts and actions into you first, and then let that spill over into everything else, then that's the ultimate reward. That's the ultimate expression of love, is to love yourself, for sure. I can't tell you the number of people I come into contact with who I think are just like the most special and amazing people that I immediately have love for. I feel like I can see the best in people right away, which can be dangerous because I'll ignore other things. But I'll feel all this love for people, and then I'll slowly learn sometimes that they don't feel that for themselves. Which I guess I could say the same for me too, because I'm sure other people feel those things for me and then are like, Ashley, why don't you believe in yourself? But as an outsider, it's so common that these amazing humans are like not filling themselves first. They're looking for that love in other things or other people instead of looking for that feeling within themselves. And love is not an external thing. Love is not an external thing. Love is all an internal thing. And until you internally feel love here, number one, first, you're not really going to feel real love outside of you. And I also think that when we fall in love with a person, it's us falling. It's almost like that person is, like I said, the reflection. They're reflecting back to us ourselves. And that person is just an extension of us, and they're allowing us to fall deeper in love with who we are. And that's what I think romantic love kind of is. we're doing that for them as they do that for us. I sit and think for many hours at night. They're both going to be hard things, for sure, because the hardest things are the things we grow through. I guess they wouldn't be like specific singular moments. They're more kind of like time frames in my life. Definitely when I was around middle school age, now that I'm an adult, I know that I have social anxiety. Didn't know what that was when I was a kid, but I had it bad to the point where I was like breaking out in like hives all the time. But I was bullied really badly growing up, very badly. And I was very quiet. I didn't know how to express my emotions. So I held them all in, and I just thought a lot, but I didn't talk a lot. And I was getting bullied to the point where there were kids who threw bricks at me. I got locked in a closet in the 7th grade. I used to sit and eat lunch by myself at the long tables. And that was a hard time. When you're a kid and you don't understand how to navigate that either, I felt like I was being treated like I was different, or I was weird, or there was something wrong with me. And I knew there was nothing wrong with me, but I didn't understand why other people felt the need to treat me that way. And I always remember thinking, when I get older, I want to make sure anyone who feels like this, I'll be there for them. I'll make sure they know that there's someone there who wants to be their friend or wants to include them. So that was definitely a time in my life that was very transformative. And then I guess more into my adult years, I had a toxic relationship that I was in for 3 years with a person who didn't love themselves and therefore could not love me. And it was one of the hardest times of my life because I let it completely destroy who I thought I was. And I just remember thinking, this is gonna kill me. And honestly, I feel like it did kill me. I always say that. I feel like I died and was reborn. And even my parents look at me and they're like, you're so different from that time. Because I moved away during that time. I went to the other side of the country, basically alone, and had to figure it out. And I remember being in California, going through this experience that I was in for about 3 years, and being like, wow, I can either sit here and let this completely destroy me. I was literally suicidal. But instead of that, I woke up every day and I was so grateful and happy after I had left this person. And I was like, life is beautiful, and I'm not going to choose to let this destroy me. And it was like the best year of my life. I was so happy. I made so many friends, and for a girl who's socially awkward and nervous and shy, making all these friends all of a sudden, it felt like without trying, they just came to me, and they were angels. Because I chose not to worry, and I chose to have faith in the path that life was taking me down, and I chose to respect myself and my boundaries. Life was like, yes, here's your reward, and this is where you are supposed to be in. And so since then, I've just trusted that. So I do feel like the old Ashley kind of like died. Like, how they say a phoenix rises from the ashes. Ashes, yeah. If you're watching this, thanks. Shout out to you. It was kind of crazy because I remember thinking, I was out in LA, so I was surrounded by people who were going through crazy life experiences. I noticed that there were a lot of people who knew that that was the thing they had to do, but didn't know how to get there, so they would kind of be faking it. And not that that's bad, because sometimes we're all trying to figure it out. And there were a lot of years I don't want to say faking it, but I was like, yeah, I'm staying true to me, but it wasn't like aligning. And I figured out that it was because I wasn't being honest with myself. I wasn't respecting who I was. I was allowing things that made me feel bad to stay around me. And it was almost like my job to make them feel good. Like if I met someone who made me feel yucky, instead of trusting that and just going, all right, that person's not for me, I had to find there was no logical reason why I didn't like how I felt around them. So I wouldn't listen to it. I would ignore it and I would try to make it work. And then I'd end up feeling like shit. And I'd be like, oh, that's my fault. That's my job. I'm supposed to make that right. It's not. And it just made life so bright and light. And which is funny because at that time I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a car. In LA, that's very hard. I didn't have a lot of money. There were a lot of days I didn't have food. I didn't have my family. But I felt really fulfilled because every day I woke up knowing that even if there were a lot of days I woke up knowing, okay, I don't have money, I don't have food today, but I would wake up and be like, I know something's gonna work out and I'll be all right. And it always did. It always did. But it was only because I was peaceful in knowing that it would work out. That fear, that nervousness, that's us believing that something's gonna go wrong. And whatever you believe, that's what's gonna happen.
A lot of people say that they are peaceful and that they believe in something, and it's almost like sometimes you do have to fake it until you make it, but the core of your being is still in that place of like, well, can I do this? Or like, is this possible?
Well, that's the first step too, is kind of going, I'm not okay. Or like, I'm not peaceful.
Right.
I don't know what I'm doing. That's an ego thing. And I don't mean, I think a lot of people hear the word ego, they think like, oh, someone who's really into themselves. That's not it. Your ego is that thing in your head that makes you feel like you have to be something other than what you are. So I think when you meet people or come into contact with people who are like, I'm good, life is great, but you can feel their turbulence, it's because their ego's still in the driver's seat. They're not able to just go like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel great about it. And that during that time in my life, when I was out in California, that was definitely what helped me, was I was openly kind of just saying like, hey, this just happened to me and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't feel great, but I'm gonna just keep moving. It allowed me the space to transform. It allowed me the space to heal, as opposed to ignoring it and acting like it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing to do, for sure, but it pays off. And it's not something you do once. I think a lot of people think, oh, I found peace. Life is great and done forever. It's not. It's something you're going to have to do over and over again. Expectations of myself, for sure. I've always been a perfectionist, and I always think that other people expect me to be living up to something, and I'm learning to let go of the idea that that is the case, that people are going to accept and enjoy whatever it is that I do, and I need to accept that. I hold on to this ridiculous expectation of myself, and I'm like, oh, better to do nothing than do something and it looks stupid, you know? Just learning to, instead of focus on achieving, focus on doing. Sean Evaristo said that. Don't focus on achieving, focus on just doing. And achieving will be the byproduct. Like, that will just happen along the way. So I've been trying to focus on that. Yeah. Nature. Definitely nature. And I don't take enough time to go out and be in it. There's something about being able to sit outside in like the stillness, and you feel connected to everything. It makes me feel at peace. It makes me feel clear. And also talking. There was a time when I didn't talk. I definitely had to go and get help and learn how to speak my feelings. And now that I'm able to, you know, I can even just talk to myself. That sounds crazy. But I can sit and talk to myself, even if it's like in writing. It helps me to work through thoughts and feelings, and helps me kind of be like, all right, I got this. Keep trying to communicate your thoughts and feelings. Don't ever hold them in or think they're not good enough. We kind of have to speak out who we are and ask for what you want. Ask for what you want. Communicate what you want. If you don't ask for what you want, you won't get it. And sometimes when we hold in what we want and our feelings and our thoughts and this and that, you just continuously feel like you're never going to get there. And then it kind of enforces you to not speak your truth. It's scary. It's scary to ask for what you want and to speak your truth. But just don't give up on trying to speak your truth. If you look at the internet, it looks like everyone knows what they're doing and everyone is saying what they want to say. But really, how many people are actually saying their truth, their feelings, what they're going through? Very few. So it's easy, I think, to be influenced by just that aspect and to think that my story or my feelings or physically I don't look like what they're doing, so maybe I should just keep it to myself. And that's not a good thing, ever. So speak your truth, for sure.